Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome once again to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I'm your host, Miss Bumblebee, and for this legendary weekend, we are doing a legendary creature that's quite famous and maybe the most famous cryptid proper from the UK. Because today we're talking about the beast of Bodmin Moor. And I found that when it comes to covering legendary cryptids, I like to try to take it from a few different angles, but we'll work with what we can. Let me see here. So we are going to do this as told by Roanoke Tales. It's a pretty big channel, but let's see. They talk about all the different cryptids, so and other entities of fear and darkness. They also do disappearances and yeah. Oh, they did the Loveland Frogman a month ago, the Loveland Frog, which frogopomorphic. I don't think that would be right. It'd be a neuromorphic, maybe a neura. Yeah, it'd be a neuromorphic. It wouldn't be frogomorphic. Oh, but I'm being pedantic. I'm famously pedantic. I got told by someone on Blue Sky that I was woke pedantic. I'm like, I am very proud to be woke pedantic. That works for me. That fits me. I'm willing to put that into my descriptors. But enough about that. We're going to, as a family, as a hive, we're going to swarm right into this video, and we're going to talk about the beast of Bodmin Moor. There's a weird amount of evidence, and there's good reason for that, and we'll crack that egg. Let's see. Let's get this show on the road. Who's ready? Make sure I got this unmuted, so y'all don't have to yell at me in the side chat. Which do yell at me, because I will forget. I'm a ADHD middle-aged stoner woman, so I need all the help I can get.
There is nothing better than the feeling of heading home after a long day at work. Something about the call of comfort and familiarity that awaits for you just a short distance away. A bit of warm food and something to settle you in. The sounds and sights of the moor are something that you've always been used to. A seemingly endless landscape that spreads out in front of you. There's something about
that was not a moor, that was a lake. But I'll allow it. Maybe it was a moor lake.
Every single step that feels somehow familiar and somewhat as though this is the first time you've ever set foot in this particular spot all at once. It's the mist that does this. That's the best you can figure anyway. You've heard all the stories. Something is out there. Something that has no business padding the moorlands around here. Something bigger than normal. Something more vicious or more deadly. Like all the stories and legends, they seem like absolute nonsense at the time. Nothing more than tall tales from people who want to make the most of a relatively minor situation. Or, more likely, tourists who have literally zero experience with the local wildlife seem to somehow end up confusing a perfectly normal sight or sound with something that isn't. But in the gathering dusk, the stories feel a little more real. When the sun's light is sealing itself away down below the horizon and the darkness is clawing its way across the landscape, swallowing up the hollows and the dips all around you, it suddenly feels as though you are reassessing.
Now, I do appreciate the bravado that Roanoke puts into their stories. I know they're a big channel and they don't need my promotion, but Roanoke Tales, give them a subscribe if you don't. You got to take it for at face value that they're a storyteller, which, I love a good storyteller. The only way that a storyteller can do better than this type of bravado is if they have a southern accent for me. I love like Dixie Bigfoot and stuff. Sometimes I'll fall asleep listening to that. There's a few channels out there. Bob Gimlin's one. He doesn't have a southern accent, but he's a good storyteller. And we covered Bob Gimlin recently, I believe, about what is it? It's one in Illinois. I do so many of these. I'm sorry. Give me a second to think of it. It's the Enfield Horror. Yeah, the three-legged creature of that stalked the suburbs of, or not suburbs, but the rural areas of Illinois, of eastern Illinois.
All these stories, as though you are reviewing them once again in the half light around you. As someone who's spent countless minutes, days, and probably weeks by this point on the moors, you feel confident that you can identify every sight and sound. But something about this rapidly gathering dark and the mist that seems to linger far longer than it ever did has somehow got you jumpy. It's got you on edge, feeling something deep inside of you flinching at every sound and every movement. And instead of the sounds and sights all at once, it is the silence that gets you. You can hear your own breath. You can hear the sound of your footsteps squelching through the sodden turf under your feet. But suddenly, there's nothing else. No birds chirping, no distant calls through the mist. All of a sudden, it's as though you've been left entirely alone.
Wait, was that Freddy Krueger? Oh no, okay.
Chirping, no distant calls through the mist. All of a sudden, it's as though you have been left entirely alone on the moor, and it is not a pleasant feeling. You stop, you look, you listen. There's always life around, always something making noise, always some sign of some other living being around.
Oh, is the shop link not working? I have it here if we need it. I thought I had it here. Hold on. I can put the shop link back up. Because I am making sure this works first. Bear with me. Yeah, there we go. All right. There's the shop link. It won't show up for you guys for a second, but I pasted it in the chat. Give it a minute to show up. There you go.
It's all there all the time. You just need to take time to notice. But nothing seems to come. Your mind casts back to the stories that you've heard, the tales of the beast, and the rational part of your brain that's telling you it isn't possible is barely audible over the silence. Finally, a sound, or what might have been a sound. Just another acknowledgement that there is life out there with you. But the footfalls sound unusually heavy. Not nearly loud enough to be another person, but definitely heavier than anything else you would expect here. A shape starts to emerge out of the endless gray all around you. First, seems to be like a wildcat. Not very common down here, but definitely something that would make sense. But the closer it comes, the more it doesn't make sense. It seems too big and too confident. Everything about it seems slightly bigger and somehow more intimidating than anything else you've come across. It's as though it grows with every step that it takes
toward. That's a baby cheetah! Oh, baby cheetahs are so cute. And they have this, like, it's a type of camouflage, actually, but not the type of, I mean, it does camouflage them in the grass to some extent, but this fur pattern and coat composition and their this coat down here starts off a lot darker too. This one's actually a little bigger and it's not as light as it, or it's not as dark as it used to be, but this is they look like honey badgers is the thing. They'll have this white mohawk, and then this section down here is darker when they're younger. This lightens up as they grow, and then this kind of shortens up as they grow. Some subgroups have phenotypic little manes on their back that remain into adulthood, though, so they keep a little bit of that back fluff. But the babies have that to disguise themselves as honey badgers, because even a lion will think twice about sticking its nose into a honey badger nest, right?
Towards you, like its body just fills out more and its height increases with every time the paws touch the ground. It looks bulkier and more substantial with every bit of the distance that it closes. And not one thing about it seems bothered about the fact that you're standing there. The fact that a full-size adult is right in front of it.
So, showing all the big cats is what they're showing here, but I believe the beast of Bodmin Moor is typically depicted as a black cat. Yeah.
Keeps coming, eating up the distance between the two of you as you stand frozen, watching and feeling entirely incapable of doing anything else except for remembering. Even when it pauses less than 10 feet away, you already know its head is bigger than anything you'd expect to encounter. And when it flashes these teeth,
wait, was that a hyena?
You've ever... Oh, its head is bigger than anything you'd expect to encounter. And when
yeah, it was a hyena.
pauses less than 10 feet away. You already know its head is bigger than anything you'd expect to encounter.
Yes, spotted hyena. Now, nothing about the beast of Baltimore is hyena-like, but I just caught a hyena and wanted to look at it because I think hyenas are cute. I like their derpy little ears and their big muscular jaws. I don't know how else to explain it. They're like one of my favorite animals.
And when it flashes these teeth, it is unlike anything you've ever seen. You look down and see the claws protruding from its massive paws, and there is something about it that strikes you as a little different. The cold sweat on your neck is only a temporary sensation, as it seems to freeze instantly in the gathering fog. Whatever is in front of you sniffs again, seemingly assessing you, and with just a little ceremony it turns around and pads off back into the grayness all around. Once again you are left alone with nothing more than the gathering dusk. The feel of sweat.
That is true, right-handed Seth. Absolutely true. Makes sense. The only thing that would mess with a honey badger is a wolverine. Only because he has high healing factor and adamantium claws. Yeah.
Sweat on your skin, and a bit of a story to tell. What you just heard is one of the many encounters that people claim to have had with what has become known as the beast or beasts of Bodmin Moor.
Yes, there's also there's the beast of the Gulf Coast, which is actually Butters. So it's a different beast, but they get mixed up a lot. You can tell because Butters is usually orange and the beast is usually black. But other than that, same type of good morning, Sumami. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Theo. Who else do we got? We got more people popping in. Reggie is here. Yay. Heck, we got some lurkers too. Brainless Steel. Lurk and lurk. I love my lurkers too. I love all of you guys. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me.
While it may lack the pizzazz and appeal of some of the other...
I like this depiction because it's unique. It's like you can tell it's AI because look at this messed up leg here. But I digress. The proportions of it, where it's got sort of a mountain lion like proportions, but a unique almost lynx-like head, gives it, because this is like an animal that could exist and be indigenous, that like descended from European wildcats or something in the future, or some other felid in some specific habitat, even a bobcat or a lynx. But a lot of people depict it with like horns, or like a panther, or like a panther sphinx cat, which is really weird and gross looking.
That we have looked at on this channel, there is one attribute that we need to say from the start that it is doing quite well: plausibility. Yes, the kryptonite of every myth and legend ever. The silver bullet that seems to slay every tale that we all enjoy looking into and believing might be true. Sort of like, what was that thing in Colorado that eats loggers? It just kind of slides down and it looks like a whale on the side of a mountain. I cannot remember its name, but good lord, that one does not have any plausibility. Anyways, what's on
I know that. That's we'll do a cryptic corner just on. I'm not going to give each one of them their own episode, but we will do a cryptic corner on fearsome critters. Some fearsome critters will get their own episode. I don't have any problem giving like a jackalope its own episode because it has a rich history in Western culture that we could talk about, and I mean it's a fun one. But the giant centipedes I've covered them before, but I may go back over them again, and they're more plausible. And actually there's a species. Oh, that's Binky. Is that Binky? Oh, thank you, Rainbow Wrath, for buying a t-shirt. Appreciate you. Yeah, they are awesome. And you can buy me coffee too, like Aunt Jer's saying, at that Treat Stream link. There's I only got a couple things on there. I'm still feeling out how to navigate it, but I'll get there. yeah. Anyway, I'm signed in. So if anybody wants to send me a coffee, there's this place that's oh my gosh, the box and everything. It looks like it's a promotion for my channel. It's got the bee. It's called something Hive. Yeah, Hive. And we get the honeybee latte from there. Yeah, good stuff.
Usual about the Beast of Bodmin Moor is that the usual suspects for shooting these ideas down from a great height are not so clearly decided on this phenomenon. The scientists and rationalists, the biology specialists like me being a giant nerd, and the naturists that are seemingly predisposed to hating and cutting the legs out of every interesting story that falls short of scientific proof, they might just be starting to agree on this one. So strap in for an unusual entry into our long list of cryptid tales that have been absolute nonsense, because this one here might not be as much of an excitement or extreme claims as usual, but one where we might actually be on the side of science and rational thinking, just for a change anyway. So let's head over to jolly old England and see what all the fuss is about. It's not jolly over there, let's be real here. So we'll start with the obvious. Bodmin Moor is located in England and is mainly located in the country of Cornwall towards the southwest of the country. Measuring in at around 80 square miles or 200 square kilometers, it features many prominent peaks as well as areas of natural beauty, but all spread out.
I guess that we need to do it. It's map time, yo. It's mapped. It's the map. It's the map. It's the map. Who's ready for the map? I'm gonna bring it on over. Y'all know I love this. So we are, and it's weird because he says he contrasts Bodmin Moor for Cornwall, and it looks like Cornwall is right in the middle. Like it's in Cornwall, right? And that's the impression I get. Is this not Cornwall? I thought this whole peninsula from way up here all the way down was Cornwall. Is it? Am I wrong? Where are my UK friends at? Anyway, the region's pretty rocky, and I don't want to call it bleak, but let's drop our guy down. Hold on. Where can you drop at, guy? We'll drop you right here. So, let me give you an idea of the kind of landscape we're looking at. It gets Atlantic weather and all these weathered stones. This is really like quintessential moorland, though, right? This is what you think of when you think of a moor. So there's some rolling hills and shallow valleys. Not a heavily contrasted landscape, but a rough landscape. It almost makes me feel like I should see the riders of Rohan come cavalry charging out of the little forest stand or something. That kind of landscape. I would call all of Britain bleak. Cornwall and Barleywall would be better. Yeah, because corn's from North America. Like Cornish hens are from this. This is where Cornish hens come from. And this is the reason why they're so small, because there's not a lot of cover. All right. Hope you all enjoyed this visit to the moorland. Let's get back to the video.
Out over the general area and otherwise filled by endless lengths of non-specific moorland, stretching endlessly as far as the eye can see. Many of these higher peaks can be subject to both early morning mists and fog during the day, making them a prime location for the sorts of encounters that we seem to always be discussing, ones where there are some other elements at play. And this may be going kind of away to explaining why it seems to have always been like there's this explosion in frequency, and the regularity of these odd sightings that seem to defy reason, it's kind of increasing. But what we do need to actually talk about from the start is establishing the fact that we will not be limiting our discussion to just these expansive moors and the many incidents that have occurred there. In fact, it would be unfair to do so. In reality, there have been sufficient, reasonably provable, or at least plausible sightings in many other areas in the locality within England that would make it seem unfair to just limit ourselves to exact places. Instead, we'll look at the numerous sightings and encounters that seem to span the entire length of the British Isles and are presently fairly consistently basically just happening through many hundreds of years. The fact remains that encounters with these big cats, the beasts of Bodmin Moor, are not something that has been localized to just one place or one time. We can comfortably go back hundreds of years and find tales of people encountering large, almost predatory cats that were not supposed to be in the local area. And some of them are from people who would arguably, at least, be able to know the difference. Like me, for instance. I'm a cat enjoyer. Dr. Mambo is in the other room screaming for dinner. He's not even medically trained yet. I'm sure I could identify him. One of the first roundly reported encounters was reported in 1820 by a young man named William Cobbett. The man who would grow up to be a respected writer and spoke about his encounter with the beast as a child at a much later date. The encounters listed by normal citizens are many and they span years, but there are a significant amount that are from people in occupations or with personal histories where they would be well accustomed to the normal animals that would be expected and are aware of any differences. The one thing that pushes these encounters above the norm is the fact that the very people that are going on these walks in the moors are the ones that are going to be out in the back and beyond where these encounters are predisposed to happen, and they also just appear to be professionals to a certain degree.
So, like, people see dogs in house cats and mistake them for big cats all the time. I'm not saying there definitely were big cats that were released into the wild in Great Britain in the 70s. The law, there was the courts passed a law about having to pay these big licensing fees and meet all these requirements to have a big cat. And so people with big cats were like, actually, you know what? I don't have a big cat anymore. It died. And they just released it out into the wild. I don't have a big cat anymore. I sold it. Sorry. Or I never even had a big cat. I don't know what you're talking about. This was my dog kennel. Because, people were keeping them in, like, dog kennels. Like keeping a tiger in a dog kennel. It's, It was, and people, there's still counties or places in the U.S. where that happens. It doesn't happen in the U.K. anymore, but for instance, the Hannibal, Missouri, near where I grew up, there was a person who had lived out south of town who had they weren't dog kennel size. Each of the cats had a tennis court like sized area, wired fence, but they weren't a rescue or anything. He just had them, and I guess it was okay. And if they passed a law, where would those disappear to? There's always the hounds of Bakersfield. That's true.
While this isn't proof in any sort of serious or bulletproof format, it is something that maybe adds credibility to their statements, their assumed measurements, and their ability to notice the difference between a normal local animal and these beasts. If we look into the modern era, whatever we classify that as, probably right now, we could assume that not only would these encounters kind of increase, but the evidence would as well. And to a certain extent, that might just seems to be the case when we review it, at least at the surface level. One source cites the number of sightings between the early 80s and late 90s as floating somewhere between the latter half of the 50s and possibly up into like the beginning portions of the 70s. So somewhere probably between about 58 to 73 sightings. However, cut to the 2000s and in the first 10 years, that number rose close to 200. That feels like a massive increase. One that flies in the face of what is to be expected and what is normal for any paranormal entity or cryptid. They always seem to shy away as technology improves or the amount of people.
So, when you look at the climate, there are two big cats that I think would thrive in the cooler, wetter climate of any of the British Isles, or Ireland or any of it, those would be tigers, which could not be mistaken for what's described as the beast of Bodmin Moor, because size and coloration. And there is the mountain lion, right? The cougar, the puma, Panthera. No, not Panthera. Oh my gosh, shame on me. Puma concolor. Panthera tigris, but would not be mistaken for this. But Puma concolor would be okay in that cooler environment. I don't know how well leopards would do. Maybe in Cornwall specifically. Maybe in that area specifically, they would be all right. But most of and I mean, they do live in colder mountain habitats. For instance, in Afghanistan, and all around. There was a subspecies called the Amur leopard that lives in colder, cooler climates, but they're not. They're drier, I guess. A drier climate, a cold, wet climate. I think maybe a cougar would definitely do better, but cougars don't come in black. And these sightings are almost exclusively of black animals. Hive sigh. I wouldn't be surprised if the Romans released a few big cats into Great Britannia. They did hold gladiator battles in Londinium. That's true. Yeah, I think there was a big. That's what drove, like, for instance, the Atlas lion and the Atlas bear towards extinction, because those were the closest access to lions that the Romans had. And yeah, they would have shipped them all over the empire for high paid entertainment.
People in the area increase. So what is really happening here? And what about some other big cat encounters that also seem to have become prevalent across England, basically along the same time frame? It might be worth looking into some of them and seeing if there's any information there that we can use to color our idea of what we're dealing with here. If we travel about an hour by car from Bodmin Moor and go to Plymouth, we can hear about all the sightings there. Is this the same animal or set of animals? Is the distance close enough to be reasonable? It would really depend on what precisely we believe the beasts of Bodmin Moor might be. The most famous and recent sighting, and another that comes with photographic proof actually, is from 2015.
Wait, that is not the beast of Bodmin Moor. That's Bodmin Moor. That's the Kellis cat. Not even close to Cornwall. Let me see. I'll pull this up in just a second. Bear with me. I didn't expect to have to do this, but Kellis cat. And we've covered the Kellis cat. We covered it for Halloween a couple years ago. But this is the Kellis cat. It's from Scotland, right? I mean, we can come in and look at the pictures. Let's do that. Look at that. Yeah, and then there's the actual... Oh, well, maybe not. Yeah, here's the picture. Yeah, this one. It's the Kellis cat. Is that all the bigger I'm going to be able to get it? Hell, his is bigger than that. Where was it? Yeah. But this is not the beast of Bodmin Moor.
When a woman named Carol saw a large cat in the garden just outside of Plymouth. Again, in almost strict contravention to the usual cryptid standard, she took a relatively clear and clean picture of this thing. She said that while she thought it may have been a fox at first glance, it definitely appeared larger. It was only after the fact, when looking back over the photographs, that she even realized for herself that it was something that appeared far beyond the normal physical specifications of any wild animal that would be expected.
Yep, it was October 13th, 2023. Demon Cats and Ancient Magic. Cryptic Corner, episode 117. I knew it. I had I remember the thumbnail because it's got this really contrasted. I really like this thumbnail. It's a big bad kitty. Check it out. I had fun with that. Binks from Hocus Pocus. Yes, I always wanted Binks to be my sidekick.
In the region. To be honest with you, if anybody remembers the Beast of Gévaudan, maybe there's just big cats that roam Europe. Maybe the Europeans
Is that who we covered with Roanoke? Was that the Beast of Gévaudan? That hasn't been that long ago. Let me see. Gévaudan. Yeah, we covered that a few. Episode 169. Yeah, so we cover
aren't doing anything about it. What are you doing over there, Europeans? Because we also have another example of a similar mystery, and that's about a massive paw print that was discovered in 2016, albeit a little further afield in Cornwall. A set of footprints in the mud around 4 inches wide were photographed and measured by traveling tourists. The size of these prints left those that saw not only the images, but the actual prints themselves to believe...
See, to me, this looks like the outline of a dog. I know this is like art, but... And they're trying to give it its own sort of touch and flair too, make it more cursorial looking because it lives in the moorland. Give it sharper ears. Yeah. Have you covered Grindel and his mom yet? No. Are there people that claim to have encountered them? Like, I'm not against covering mythological creatures because people do like people. They're real dragon reports, right? There's real sea serpent reports, kraken reports, and things like that. So, and fairies and everything. But I don't know about Grindel. So, what's Grindel's mom's name? I can't remember. But now, I would anticipate that those characters would be more a weird with it topic as part of a alternative history theory, but I don't know. I'd have to look into it. I will, if you send me, and you can do this multiple ways. I'm on, the Hive is on most social media stuff, so you can send stuff to, there's a Facebook group. I'm not real active in there anymore because I'm generally just not active on Facebook. I just use it mostly for advertising for the channel and for my other work that I do. So you want to see pictures of me looking cute? It's there too. But you can send me requests or videos that you think I should cover over there, and I will add them to the polls. You can send me through. I'm on Instagram. You can send me the links on there. You can send me the links. I'm not really on Twitter anymore. I do still have accounts there because of specific group chats, and there's certain people that's the only way I know how to get a hold of them. So I will not be Bugbot's listening to me talking about my other content. So I will not be. I will not be answering new messages on Twitter, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I am on Blue Sky. You can message me on there and send me links. You won't be able to send me videos, but there's also the Discord server. So if someone wants to drop a link to the Hive Discord server, and I'm actually more active on the Transpositions Discord server. That's where I do most of my interfacing with actual people. The Hive Discord server is more just the channel, and if people want to send me stuff too, it's for like sending me art and stuff. There is an ID section there though, so if you need help IDing a critter, then you can go there as well. All right, no more advertising. Back to the show. Hold on. It's so funny to me how people find black cat scary. Me and Binky. My Binky is the absolute sweetest and most loving living creature that has ever lived. LOL. He's so soft and cute and loving. Yeah, I've seen plenty of Binky. If you're not subscribed to Sumami, that's mostly what you get is like adorable cat content. in bird content. Sometimes you get a tray full of eggs and veg and mealworms.
That they could have been left by something around the size of a lion. A few months later, a similar encounter would have been experienced in the same area. A driver reported a massive creature leaping out in front of him, and after authorities investigated, they found large paw prints in a nearby clay pit, as well as a deer that had its head removed. For some people, these encounters are a one-off thing, a single encounter that is more than enough to make them believe that they had seen something that isn't quite right. But for others, it seems as though it's
Tsunami's going for that whole witch vibe, and I love it. Let's be witchy bitches together. I'm wearing a dress with mushrooms on it. Hold on, let me show you guys. Look at my cute dress. I love my mushroom dress. It's got mushrooms and butterflies. Yeah, look at that. So cute.
It's a reoccurring theme. In a place called Redruth, a local man named Sid, and somebody's like, no, it's Redruth. I'm telling you it's gonna happen. Anyways, a local man named Sid Yates had an encounter with the beast of Bodmin Moor, and his first—
Yeah, buy me a coffee. I'm uncaffeinated at the moment. I've been drinking strawberry watermelon agua fresca this morning, which was really good. BB got it for me because bbsthebomb.com.
reaction was not just the usual surprise and shock. Instead, there seemed to be an element of not again in his retelling. This last sighting was in 2013, and he saw the beast in the early morning. In his own words, he described it as such. It looked a bit like a black Labrador, but it had longer legs and a tail, as well as a flat nose. It was definitely the beast of Bodmin and not a dog. It then crossed the road.
Well, it sounds like a dog if it looked like a... Hold on, let me hear that description again.
Described it as such. It looked a bit like a black Labrador.
It looked like a bit like a black Labrador, but it had longer legs and and tail and a flat nose. So, say when you see a cat, oh, thank you, my unfinished journey. Hail Nero, Brie, and mushrooms. Ah! Yeah, I love me some mushrooms. Jay and I are going to start a channel discussing the intersection of politics and religion at some point, though. Yeah, Tsunami gets a lot of interaction on the kitty and bird pictures, though. I'm impressed with how much people love to watch them. We have a flock of residential pigeons behind my house that we've often talked about. We've often talked about having them have their own channel. And there's some other birds that hang around too. We got a pair of grackles. We're like the only water source within a few miles. So anyway, back to my review of this video. Yeah, if it looks a bit like a Labrador but has longer legs, it's not looking like a feline. A feline sit low, generally for their size and weight, will sit lower to the ground, with exceptions of like a cheetah. Every other big cat's going to sit lower to the ground in proportion to its body, and seem to have shorter legs, not longer legs than a Labrador. Now, looking like a Labrador with a squished face makes me think of maybe like a Staffordshire Terrier or something. Definitely the beast, though, and not a dog. Okay, Jan.
But it had longer legs and a tail, as well as a flat nose. It was definitely the beast of Bodmin and not a dog. It then crossed the road and got into the old stables near my house and disappeared. I spoke to the other people in the village about it, and they said there was a sighting a few years ago on the other side of the village. Sid, a man in his 70s, would go on to explain that this was the third time that he had spotted the beast in his lifetime. And there are even more general discoveries, sightings, and small pieces of information that all seem to roughly tie together to add to that hint of plausibility to the stories and to the legends, even if none of them are specifically compelling in and of themselves. Homeowners finding dogs' legs.
Well, to me, it sounds like like a black bully breed of some kind with a smooshed face. Describes dog. I don't know what it is. It's not a dog, though. I love agua fresca. This is the land of agua fresca down here in West Texas. Oh, and they make them good. We went to the county fair last weekend, and they had a agua fresca spread. From here to there, it was like there was over 10 different flavors, but I don't want to say whether it's 15 or 20. There were a lot, though. A lot to choose from.
Legs fully detached, lying in the grass with no sign of an injured pet nearby and really no explanation. Half-remembered stories of Moor walkers encountering animals that seemed a little too big or too confident. Livestock being damaged in a way that farmers and shepherds didn't recognize as a typical or usual predator. Nothing more than vague and general tales.
That's Binky right there, isn't it? That sure looks like the Binky from your photos. We could just stick this in with your photos and see if anybody notices.
That all help to bolster the story, especially when viewed alongside the more concrete and solid stories provided. While there are those that naturally are speculative about the nature of these sightings, there is a strong and growing amount of evidence for the fact that there simply cannot be that many people that have gotten these things wrong over the lengths of time that we are discussing. The more obvious theories write themselves, essentially. The truth is that there's a genus or species of large cat that has been roaming this area for multiple hundreds of years and has never been assessed, captured, or identified by science. In fact, I think it's like the Cloudland cat or something like Cloudland cougar. Basically a big cat that we thought was extinct that we've just recently in the last couple of years saw as like scientists and then pictures of it. Well, there you go.
Cloudland cougar. What? Is that what he said? The Cloudland cougar?
We've just recently in the last couple of years saw as like science cat. I think it's like the Cloudland cat or something like Cloudland cougar. Basically a big cat that we thought was extinct that we've just recently in the last couple of years saw as like scientists and then pictures of it. Well, there you go.
What is he talking about? Cloudland? I want to speculate that he's talking about, I'm doing my meds too. I want to speculate that he's talking about the clouded leopard. Now there's two. I'll drink those. There's two subspecies. Maybe they're species. Hold on. Neophilus. Neophilus is clouded leopard. So we're going to look and see if this is what he's talking about. Hold on. So we're gonna it's just looking for basic information. So Wikipedia is fine for that, and you can always follow the sources if you have doubts. Okay, so there's subspecies, right? There's it's the genus with two species, and then one species has two subspecies, which is the Sunda cloud leopard, which I think is what he's talking about. Now, I can only assume that this is what he's referring to. That we thought they were extinct and they're not in this area. But I want to say they used to live in a lot broader of an area than they live now. But yeah, this is Neophilus. They are, I mean, calling them big cats, they are closer related to pantherines than felis. Pantherines than felines, I guess would be the way to say that. But they're not within Panthera. They're kind of their own thing that way. No, Leophilus is different than Neophilus. Yeah. They actually had Leophilus on. I'm saying Leophilus. I had Leophilus on Tuesday where we smacked around Cybertrucks. It was fantastic. Back to the video, I guess. Let's do this.
Oh, we thought it was definitely gone, and it definitely wasn't. So, Absolutely, some people attribute it to something a little more out of the realms of reality, where it's an animal that surpasses every sort of human expectation, a sort of four-legged boogeyman that haunts the moors and keeps a keen eye on any and all who have the gall and lack of common sense to trespass in their land. But for many locals,
Sumami, I just like one of my friends on Facebook, that another Texas person, they're in East Texas though, they posted a picture from their security camera that had a cougar on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to boop. Please go boop it so I can boop vicariously through you and record it. But they wouldn't go out and pet the mountain lion. I don't know why. They're so cute. If not friend, then why friend shaped?
This isn't even a theory by this point. This is simply a truth that is known to them and yet to be nailed down by the conventional science. After all, this isn't like many of the other stories that we have covered. Many of the people that have encounters have had plenty of knowledge and experience with the wildlife, especially with the type that would be expected around this area. Most have at least the know-how and the past experience to correctly identify what they would be looking at. And the photographs, of which many exist, certainly seem to show something a little...
Yeah, this is, oh, right, I totally forgot there are Florida panthers here, but they're very shy. I never seen a wild one in person. Yeah, most people haven't. There's not very many left. How many Florida panthers are left? Let's check. How many, all I had to type in was how many FL. There's only 200 left in the wild, and they're small, too, they're about the size of a clouded leopard. Which are also smaller. I think they're the smallest subspecies of cougars. Well,
out of the ordinary. Surely enough to make even the most skeptical of people to consider that there might be something more than meets the eye stalking the moors. And I am serious about that, and don't call me Shirley. Strangely, and trust me, this feels weird for me too, this section about the most plausible theories is one that seems to be the easiest to kind of construct. Unlike a lot of other things that we have looked at, there are actually very few that deny the existence of at least something is unusual in the location that has been mentioned. The basic reality is that the number of sightings, especially ones that have persisted through the era to the modern technology that we have, and have actually managed to somehow increase in the age when everyone has a high-powered camera in their pocket at all times, makes me feel like it's a little bit more believable than most. So although it may feel like a default position on anything that is not nailed down and set in concrete by science at this point, it might be just to be disbelieved, this might not be the case for the beasts of Bodmin Moor. An interesting law came into effect in the 1970s in the UK.
Here we go. This is about what I was talking about earlier.
It was called the Dangerous and Wild Animals Act, that heavily reduced the capacity of ordinary citizens to hold, possess, or keep any pets that were classified as fitting into this category. While this act completely sidetracked those that owned or held safari parks or zoos, or basically any other iteration if an animal collection was being utilized by the owner and they charged money for the public to view the animals, it caught a surprising number of people in a sort of no man's land. There was a large number of people that held private collections in the UK at that time, ones that had obtained various animals through different means. And
there were a lot of Tiger Kings in the UK. With the stroke of a pen. A lot of Tiger Kings having their own menageries, private menageries in the UK before this 1970s act. Now, did they act like Bond villains with them and use them to terrify and even take out their foes? Probably. I'm sure they did. Isn't that crazy to think that like people were just able to have a tiger walking around your house like a dog until the 1970s in Britain? I mean, even the states in the U.S. now, where you can have exotic animals, generally have some level of regulation that says, hey, you have to have this high of a fence, you have to have this deep of a moat, the animal needs to be contained by this many gates or this type of lock, that kind of stuff. Oh man, you guys really do like Cryptic Corner, don't you? It's my favorite too.
In the passing of a law, which is pretty standard for England. Oh God, I'm glad we separated from them. They were suddenly left in a very awkward position. Anyone who held a big cat as a private pet, but wasn't directly...
Now that definitely looks like maybe baby cakes on the prowl, like just a black cat, maybe a large black cat, but does not, to me, look like the outline of a pantherine, and it doesn't look like a puma. Now, if someone told me this was taken in South or Central America, I might say, hey, it could be a jaguarundi, but I think it's a domestic cat.
...or currently involved in the running of a zoo was confronted with a strange ultimatum, and one that many allegedly solved, and really the most, it could be said bizarre, but in the laziest way. One of the most prevalent theories regarding the sudden prevalence of big cats on the...
Exactly, Sumami. Someone has to fuck up, then things get taken care of. That one's definitely a bink bonk. You think so? The prowling made me think more of baby cakes, but I think when I think of Binky, think of a derpier, more curled up on your lap purring kind of cat. Did I wake your kitties up? I'm sorry with my mewing. I practice animal sounds like a weirdo. I try to talk to the pigeons. I can't do my trill right now because my throat's dry.
Moors seems to tie in with the beast's seeming inability to comply with the normal routine of sightings.
And speaking of my throat being dry, yeah, you can buy me something to drink on TreatStream. It's really cool. Last week, I got the honeybee latte, and it was delicious.
Off as time passes. People seem to believe that any who held these animals in their private collections made the heartbreaking but ultimately sensible, I guess, decision to release these animals into the wild. And unlike most cases where we look into, it seems as though the science actually backs this one up. There was an official investigation carried out in the mid-1990s where the Agricultural Development Advisory Service...
Oh, remember we did the, was it the ONZA? A couple months ago? Let's see, ONZA... Yeah, it was the ONZA, and we had... Let's see, we had, it was basically, it looked like a house cat. Yeah, here it is. American Mystery Cat from August 9th, 2024. Alright, hold on. I'm going to pull this over here real quick, because I'm going to do some... I guess Inception. Yeah, where people were seeing... It's our kitty. Definitely a kitty. Here's the kitty. I have my thoughts. Wait. Hold on, we're going to launch it here. Look, it's just a kitty. No, make it big. Make it big, Bree. Damn it. Here, we'll do it this way. Come on, Bree, get it together. There you go. Much better, much clearer image. Okay. That's somebody's cat. So we got a black cat. Looks like it's about maybe 30 feet up the side of the mountain there, crawling among the slag. Yeah. So it's not uncommon for people to mistake just a regular old house cat for a beast.
Analyzed all the evidence available and around the area, but essentially realized that they could not prove definitively that there was or wasn't a number of big cats roaming the area of Bodmin Moor. This was their official conclusion. It was accepted at the start of the investigation that it would never be possible to prove that such an animal or animals did not exist, but it was believed that if they did...
Does he not eat the yolk, or does he not eat the white? Which do your birds prefer? You just need to tell them. You need to put your foot down and say, listen, Flotsam, you aren't going to get any more eggs at all if you can't eat all your eggs. If you can't, yeah.
hard evidence would be forthcoming. People helpfully supplied material for the investigation and reported sightings, suspected livestock kills, and injuries. No verifiable evidence for the presence of big cats were found, but there were only 4 suspected livestock kills reported in nearly 6 months, none of which gave any indication of the involvement of anything other than native animals and dogs. There is no significant threat to livestock from a big cat on Bodmin Moor. Despite this, though, interestingly, there would be some DNA analysis carried out within the last year or so on another piece of fur found in a different country. I'm going to try this. Gloucestershire, Cockapoo-Pee-Pee-shire. They have been suffering their own strange...
Cockapoo-Pee-Pee-shire? We say Gloucestershire?
Sightings and livestock injuries. The scientists that analyzed this genetic material left behind stated that it was almost categorically of the same form of big cat. That statement from the team is as follows. The DNA cut from the hairs caught on a barbed wire fence where there had been some unusual predatory activity. It has taken us 5 years for the production team to find such evidence and film its journey from collection to analysis. Some people of Gloucestershire and Britain have described what appears to be black leopards for decades, so a leopard DNA result from the black hair sample is unsurprising. This is not the first such DNA result and is unlikely to be the last.
So when they talk about this, though, you got to remember that the other DNA results, a lot of them have turned out to be from discarded leopard skin rugs, and I think they've had skulls that were found that were from leopard skin rugs, because they leave the skull and the head on there.
There's a great deal of secondary evidence for these cats, such as consistent witnesses reports, but hard evidence like DNA is difficult to get. So the contribution from this documentary is very helpful. Collecting such evidence from the local people, farmers, and landowners is essential. Citizen science like this will hopefully help us learn about the Bagheera-type big cats, which may be quietly naturalized.
And let's make no mistake, people still do wear real leopard fur clothing, right? Coats and stuff like that. So, especially, I don't want to say especially, but like rich people. Even though they can't have the real animals in their menageries anymore, they still will wear the furs. This is real panther fur or whatever, And I don't know what that would be doing in that coat out in the bush, but that's definitely more likely than an actual big cat being out there. But I digress.
Here. So there you have it. The sightings and encounters with the beasts of Bodmin over the centuries that seem to persist over hundreds of years. As always, please come forward with your own thoughts and opinions on the case in the comment section below, but this is as much as we'll say. Unlike the usual times when we are defending and boxing off low-key
attempts... I think it's Gloucester, isn't it? Just Gloucestershire? I don't think you say shire. You think you just say sure when it's run together like that. Gloucestershire. But I have a thick American accent too. I can't think of anybody who has a more embedded American accent than myself. I'm from the middle of the country initially, so where all the accents come together.
Attempts to make this appear like something it's not, it's a bit different. The most recent and up-to-date information seems to back the case. The most cutting-edge science is on our side, and the factual and real evidence provided by those that are usually naysaying or criticizing from the wings is actually the most up-to-date and compelling evidence that we've got. And it seems more than in most other cases that there is certainly something a little out of the ordinary wandering the moors around Bodmin and further afield. So until next time, please like and subscribe for more stories.
Yeah. All right. So that was Roanoke Tales. I'll give him a like. Pretty good breakdown. I wish they would have talked about the leopard rugs, though. I do. I think that would have been a good approach to add a little bit of skepticism to the story, but obviously they had a certain angle that they were going through in their telling, and I get that. I understand that, but what do you guys think? Do you think the beast of Bodmin Moor was Gloucestershire? Yeah, there you go, Gloucestershire. I like that. I think there's some inflections in the ta part. I think maybe, but I could be wrong too. Like it's like something like that. I can't do it. So stupid American tongue. Anyway, yeah. What do you guys think though? I do believe they even shot some of these big cats that were released into the wild. So like, there's physical evidence that these animals did exist as released captives, but that they would survive from the 70s to the 2000s without and maintaining a breeding population without having regular interaction with humans on the moorlands that are open with no cover. I think that's suspicious, especially because it's one of the most populated islands in the world. We're talking about here. We're talking about millions of people. I know it's a more rural part of the island, but big cats in general and pumas as well require huge expanses of land to be able to thrive and to occupy with enough food just to survive, yet alone to raise litters of offspring. But I digress. What do you think? I want to know how my hive feels about this beast. So, put your commentary down below. What do you think we're looking at here? Honestly, it's to me, it's like a combination of folklore, historical precedent where big cats were released, and sightings of of dogs that are behaving in some type of way that makes people think they're not dogs. But I'm open for all your opinions. Now I'm going to take an intermission here, but I want to tell my Cryptic Corner crew to please be kind, take care, and we will see you next time.